Good evening, teacher.
Hello, good evening, Carolina. How are you? Is everything okay?
Yes, teacher, thank you.
Great, that's great to know. So let's begin with today's practice. This time I'm going to share my screen because you're going to just watch this video. It's someone giving a class related to, let's say, I think it's psychology this time. All right, I think we saw psychology already, but it's interesting because this time this is not like scripted. All right, because some of the TOEFL lectures that I was making you listen, and perhaps all of them are like scriptured. All right, they already have scripts, and some people are reading that one. But this is part of a real lecture, all right, that is going to make things a little bit not harder but more interesting to understand. All right, so let's do the same. I'm going to play. This time you're going to be able to watch the video as well. Perhaps some of the expressions and things they are going to show are going to help understand that better, but I imagine this is not going to be that hard. All right, are you ready to start, Carolina? Okay, if you're ready, then I'm going to play. And let's begin with this. Again, you can take notes because I'm going to be stopping, all right, step by step to ask you some questions. Let's begin, please. Okay, you're going to let me know if you can listen to the audio, please.
So, everybody who's a sort of a...
Okay, can you hear that well, Carolina? Let me know, please. Hello, Carolina, can you hear me?
Teacher. Yes, I lost the connection for a few seconds. Sorry, teacher.
Okay, don't worry. Please let me know if you can hear the video. All right, I'm going to play it again and let me know, please.
From the neurological and neuroscientific literature about how the human brain supports and contributes to different aspects of being a person.
Okay, so can you listen to that?
Yes, teacher.
Okay, good. So the same idea, please. I'm going to be playing this for you. I'm going to be stopping at certain points and you're going to try to tell me what you were able to get. Let's begin.
Okay. So, everybody who's works in a certain field thinks that their field is really, really, really special, right? So here's why psychology is really, really, really special. So it's really, really special, I think most of all, because every endeavor that we undertake at a university or in society as a whole, it's about people, right? Except for when we think about the rest of nature. But, people study biology, chemistry, and physics. And they think, right, that the sun orbits the Earth for some period of time, and then they think it's the other way around currently, right? Okay, so people come up with these conclusions, even though we're trying to understand nature. It's people who make certain investments in economics or behave in a certain way or vote in a certain way. It's people who make music and appreciate music, make art and appreciate art, read and write literature, right? So in all these dimensions, there's something very fundamental about what it is about the human mind that gives birth to these areas of inquiry and how those areas, domains of human experience are enacted. So my only goal today is...
So up to that point, I'm going to go back a little bit perhaps, but what can you tell me about that first part of this lecture, Carolina? What were you able to get and what information can you tell me about it?
Teacher, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Okay, thank you, teacher. Well, I understand that it's a man who is talking about psychologist, and it shows an image. It mentioned the social ecologist, I think, science, sorry, and nature science, if I'm not wrong. And in social, mention science as math, philosophy, politics, also after he mentioned that it's really interesting see the behavior of those peoples, I think, because in the other side were the arts, the music, people who appreciate music, arts, and I think he mentions that.
Okay, good. What do you think is the point that he's trying to make by explaining this in this way, right? Because if I go to that picture, again, this is just to try to understand what he's saying, that over there, right? And he's showing that you were right, natural sciences, and we have social sciences, and this is a psychocentric, it's a view, right? Of course, it's a way of saying that it's psychology in the middle of everything, and then he has a lot of other sciences, right? What do you think? And then here you have humanities. So what do you think he's trying to say, or what's the point he's trying to make by showing this first, this picture, and then by talking in that way about the other sciences? What do you think?
I think maybe he is trying to do a comparison between natural and social sciences.
Okay, let's analyze. I'm going to play from this part once again, and you're going to tell me, could be, right? Could be a comparison, but there is a reason why he is, all right, locating psychology in the middle of everything in a certain way. Again, this is a psychology class, right? So he's trying to make a point related to why this is in the middle. Perhaps more than a comparison, he's going to try to show why this element is in a certain way connected to all those other elements. All right, so I'm going to play from this part and I'm going to continue.
Like, at a university or in society as a whole, it's about people, right? Except for when we think about the rest of nature. But people study biology, chemistry, and physics, and they think, right, that the sun orbits the Earth for some period of time, and then they think it's the other way around currently, right? Okay, so people come up with these conclusions, even though we're trying to understand nature. It's people who make certain investments in economics or behave in a certain way or vote in a certain way. It's people who make music and appreciate music, make art and appreciate art, read and write literature, right? So,
Okay, so up to that point and going back to that picture, all right? Without going back actually, but in the sense of talking about that again. Why do you think he's mentioning all those fields and he's constantly repeating, right? It's people who do that and that and that. What can you tell me then? You were saying it's a comparison, right? But what's the common points between all those sciences, Caroline? According to what he's saying here, you can tell me something. What do you say?
Well, I think maybe he mentioned that to understand the behavior of people, and I think also uh, both science could be complement each of one, because I think I understand something like that, that people who appreciate arts, music, and maybe those people has a lot has also a part of the other science. I mean, politics, math, and those.
All right, thank you very much. We're going to keep going. Yes, I think in a certain point that could be true, but I think that the point that he's making here, more than making a comparison, right, and saying this is complementary for this one, he's trying to say that all of them have something in common, that it's people who created all those fields, that is people who, all right, are working in arts, are working in anthropology, in economics, right? So all of them have something in common, and that it's all of them were created by a person, right? And if you realize, he's trying to make that point because he is giving this psychology class and it's saying, in psychology, we study people, right? And people creates all the other fields. So that's the main idea that connects all those points. Because when you, and here he says, right, when psychology studies people, it means that in a certain way, it tries to understand also why people create all those fields, why people created arts, why people created anthropology, maths, right, and all those elements. So that's why he located, all right, psychology in the middle, because he believes that psychology is trying to understand the behavior, as you were saying, right? But more than comparing and contrasting both fields or the three fields that you have over there in the chart, he perhaps is trying to show that the thing in common is that all of them were made by one guy, right? Or, of course, one person. Let's keep going. We're going to try to understand a little bit more.
So in all these dimensions, there's something very fundamental about what it is about the human mind that gives birth to these areas of inquiry and how those areas, domains of human experience are enacted. So my only goal today is to try to convince you in a number of different ways that we're not simple video camera in our minds, between our ears, recording the world in some objective, simple way, that even the simplest, most obvious things are interpretations of the world around us at many different levels of thought and feeling and perception, and that our minds, the way our minds are constructed, determines the world that we experience, that we see, that we act upon. And even very simple things that we...
All right, up to that part, he's going now to a different point, right, after saying that in a certain way, everything, right, is related to something. That is, people, right, who made and created all those fields. Now he's mentioning the mind, right, and how it works in a certain way. What can you tell me about this part, Carolina?
Teacher, I couldn't hear really well the last part. I hear a little slow.
I mean, slow? All right. Oh, okay. I'm going to play it again. Let's try to see if this works. We're going to tell me if now you can hear it well. All right. Once again.
Okay.
Human
Thank you,
experience
teacher.
are enacted. So my only goal today is to try to convince you in a number of different ways.
Okay. So can you hear well now? Is it okay?
Yes, teacher. Thank you.
Okay. Good. So let's begin. And again, you're going to try to tell me now what is the point that he's trying to make in this next part, and we finish with this.
About what it is about the human mind that gives birth to these areas of inquiry and how those areas, domains of human experience are enacted. So my only goal today is to try to convince you in a number of different ways that we're not simple video camera in our minds, between our ears, recording the world in some objective, simple way, that even the simplest, most obvious things are interpretations of the world around us at many different levels of thought and feeling and perception, and that our minds, the way our minds are constructed, determines the world that we experience, that we see, that we act upon. And even
all right, just up to that point, because if not, it's going to get extended. What can you tell me about this next part when he shows, right, that slide over there, that picture? What can you tell me, Carolina?
Okay, teacher. Well, I understand that maybe he is trying to explain the objective of those science. I think maybe he is trying to share with people the reason of why people create or give birth to those science.
Okay, very good. Good. Yes, it's related to that. Only one question. He was saying, try to explain this in your own words to finish. He was saying, we're not like video cameras, right? Or cameras just looking around in an objective way, right? We are affected by something, right? That is our mind. How can you interpret or tell me that in your own words? What does he mean when he says that, Carolina? What do you think?
I think maybe he's referring to that every person is different, because in a video camera you can record a video and it always be the same, but the minds of people works in a different way for each person, and that means that if we see an activity or a situation, it will not be the same for everybody. At least we are in the same place at the same hour or seeing the same. I think maybe the interpretation that every person give to that situation will be different.
Okay, thank you very much. I think that was very accurate and that was a very good interpretation of that, that saying. Thank you very much, Carolina. Then let's finish over here. I'll be waiting for you tomorrow for the final presentation. All right, have a good night.
Thank you, teacher. Goodbye. Goodbye, Majo.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. All right, so let's begin with you, please, Majo. Good evening. How are you?
Hello, teacher. Fine, and you?
Great. Everything is fine, Majo. Thanks for asking. So let's begin with today's practice. This time, as you can see, I'm sharing my screen because you're going to be able to see this guy and some of the pictures that he's going to show, because it's going to help us understand what's the point he's trying to make. All right. Let's begin, please. We're going to start from this minute over here and try to tell me everything that you can get, please.
So, everybody who's works in a certain field thinks that their field is really, really, really special, right? So here's why psychology is really, really, really special. So it's really, really special, I think most of all, because every endeavor that we undertake at a university or in society as a whole, it's about people, right? Except for when we think about the rest of nature. But, people study biology, chemistry, and physics. And they think, right, that the sun orbits the Earth for some period of time, and then they think it's the other way around currently, right? Okay, so people come up with these conclusions, even though we're trying to understand nature. It's people who make certain investments in economics or behave in a certain way or vote in a certain way. It's people who make music and appreciate music, make art and appreciate art, read and write literature, right? So in all these dimensions, there's something very fundamental about what it is about the human mind that gives birth to these areas of inquiry and how those areas, domains of human experience are enacted.
All right, so up to that point, I'm going to go back actually to this chart as well over here. There you go. So what can you tell me about that first part, Majo, in your own words? What do you think that is the point that he's trying to make? And if you can explain this like picture that he showed right when he was explaining that thing. What do you say?
Okay, teacher. It's a very difficult, but I understand that people have a different ways of understand things, the art, the music.
All right, so you're talking about understanding, could be in a certain way, but more than understanding, I think he's trying to say that is people, right? The as idea, right? A people, the idea of people that created all these fields, right? You have natural sciences like physics, chemistry, biology. You have social sciences, right? Anthropology, sociology,
Yes,
politics science.
literature.
Exactly, and humanities, right? Literature, language, art. So, and he's located psychology in the middle, all right? Okay, because this is, of course, a psychology class, and he's going to try to make a point. So, how can you interpret or explain this according to what he was saying? What do you say?
Mm, I don't know, teacher. Maybe it's I don't know, teacher.
All right, don't worry. We're going to try to do something then to be sure that
Maybe
we're going
there
to
are
understand.
many areas of humans experience, and yes, many areas. There are many areas.
Okay, yes, good. That's something very important. We have a lot of areas, right? We have a lot of areas that are related to the human experience. That is correct. But now you're going to try to tell me, and we're going to do actually this step by step. All right, I'm going to play a part. You're going to try to repeat what he's saying. All right, just in the things that you can, the things that you don't understand, it doesn't matter. All right, we're not going to pay attention to that. Just what you can listen and repeat. So let's begin.
So, everybody who's works in a certain field thinks that their field is really, really, really special, right?
Okay, up to that part, only the words that you were able to understand. What were you able to get, Mac?
I sorry, teacher. He says that everybody is assertive.
Okay, well, let's try to listen once again. Okay, it's very important because if we don't get this, we're not going to get the main idea over here.
So, everybody who's a sort of works in a certain field thinks that their field.
Okay, everybody who sort of kind of works. Okay, so those are not real words. He's like making mistakes. All right, sorts of, kind of. Okay, everybody who sorts of kind of work. All right, or works in different what?
Is really, really, really
Okay, one more time
from the neurological.
from this part.
So, everybody who's a sort of works in a certain field thinks that their field.
Okay, works in a certain field of, right? So he's talking about that field, and they feel that they are kind of special, let's say.
Is really, really, really special, right? So here's why psychology is really, really, really special.
And he says, right, and here is why psychology is really, really, really special, right? So every field believes that they are really, really, really special, and he's going to explain why psychology is special, all right? So he's put an emphasis on that idea. The next part, pay attention, you're going to try to repeat the next part.
So it's really, really special, I think most of all, because every endeavor that we undertake at a university or in society as a whole, it's about people. Right?
Okay, what about that part? What do you remember about that, Mago?
Teacher, that is very special because I don't understand, but he talk about endeavor like esfuerzo, teacher.
Could be related to that. Also could mean tasks or some activities that they do, endeavors. What else? Because there is something very important related to those endeavors. And actually, he's talking about the ones who study or who are psychologists. So what is special about psychology according to him?
Okay, it's about very endeavor. He talk about the society and about people.
Okay, yeah, that last word is very important, people, all right? So try to listen once again, and then we're going to, I'm going to actually turn on the captions, all right, the second time so that we get it. Let's listen here.
Everybody who's a sort of works in a certain field thinks that their field is really, really, really special, right?
Okay, that part. So those are the captions, right? So everybody, right, who works in their field, they think that their field is really, really, really special, right? I'm going to keep the captions here.
So here's why psychology is really, really, really special.
Right, and then he's saying, right, he's going to explain why this field is special, right, as other fields are special. All fields are special.
So it's really, really special, I think most of all, because every endeavor.
Okay, this is the reason, right? Because every endeavor, right, that we undertake at a university, so he's talking about task, activity, or efforts, as you were saying, that they do.
That we undertake at a university or in society as a whole.
Right, or in society. So he's talking about the role of a psychologist, right, at university or in society. And he's going to mention something, and the word that I told you.
It's about people, right?
Okay, it's about people, except when we think about something else. So I'm going to turn off the caption. So that is the main idea. I'm going to keep playing, but try to get that idea, Majo. He's trying to show that point, that every field is special because they have a special object of study, right? I don't know, right? Literature is going to study something related to language, could be perhaps. What else? I don't know. You have physics that, of course, is going to study the laws of physics and other elements. Mathematics that is going to study the relationship, right, or connection between numbers and many other things, right? And he says that psychology has people as the object of study. Okay, from that part, again, let's try to listen and try to get some important words.
For when we think about the rest of nature. But, people study biology, chemistry, and physics. And they think, right, that the sun orbits the Earth for some period of time, and then they think it's the other way around.
Okay, what can you tell me about that part, Majo? What do you remember? What can you repeat from that
she talk about period of time to different people to know or learn a different science or understand the science.
Okay, now we're going to verify. Okay, I'm going back and I'm going to turn on the captions because actually he's talking about first some fields. He's giving examples, right? In biology and so on. And they study things like, for example, the sun and the earth. And the earth, right, is rounding around the sun or the opposite. And it takes a period of time to do that. So he's more giving examples. If you take a look, I'm going to turn on the captions and let's listen to that part.
In society as a whole, it's about people, right? Except for when we think about the rest of nature. But
so here is stuff, right? But people study biology, chemistry, and physics, right? He's given examples.
People study biology, chemistry, and physics, and they think, right?
And more examples, right? They think that the sun orbits, right, the Earth.
That the sun orbits the Earth for some period of time.
Right, so that period of time is part of that example.
And then they think it's the other way around.
Then they think it's the other way around, and he's trying to make a point, right? That's what they study. Then I'm going to turn up. Let's try to get the next part.
Currently, right? Okay, so people come up with these conclusions, even though we're trying to understand nature. It's people who make certain investments in economics or behave in a certain way or vote in a certain way. It's people who make music and appreciate music, make art and appreciate art.
All right, up to that point, the same idea, Majo. What can you tell me about that part?
That people who pressure that science, pressure the music or the art.
All right, so okay, so yes, he mentions something like that, but again, he keeps giving examples. So if we go back, he's going to say it's people, right, who invest in economics and work on this and that. It's people who create art and appreciate art. So he's still talking about people in general, all right? What they do, what they create, what they invest on, what they appreciate. Again, I'm going to turn on the captions and let's take a look at that.
Period of time, and then they think it's the other way around currently, right? Okay, so people come up with these conclusions.
All right, so again, he's running about that or around that idea. It's people who come up with those conclusions.
Even though we're trying to understand nature, it's people who make certain investments in economics.
Right, again, more examples. They make investments, right, in economics.
Or behave in a certain way, or vote in a certain way. It's people who make music and appreciate music.
Right, they make music and appreciate music. They make art and appreciate art.
Make art and appreciate art. Read and write literature, right? So in all these dimensions, there's something very fundamental about what it is about the human mind that gives birth to these areas of inquiry and how those areas, domains of human experience are enacted.
Okay, so up to that point, to conclude this one, I know that this can be difficult, but in general, right, the point he was trying to make is that many other fields have their own field of study, and they study specific objects in the universe, right? And psychology is the one who's studying one specific thing in the universe that is that thing that creates all the other fields. And that's why he showed this picture over here, right? So one more time, and to conclude, please, Majo, with all that information, what can you tell me about this picture once again, and what can you tell me about the point he was trying to make in your own words?
Teacher, the psychology is special because I don't know, many of us have different ways of study, learn, to understand science, to understand and appreciate art and music.
All right, yes, that can be one interpretation, right? But what he's saying, in other words, it's actually more simple. What he's saying, it's only not, he's not saying that everybody's different and so on. He's just saying that psychology is special because psychology studies people, right? And why? Because they want to understand, right, why they create those other fields and so on. But that's it, all right? In other words, this whole lecture is about that psychology, all right, studies people, and that people created all those other fields, all right? So good. And that's it. We're going to try to reinforce that one. We don't have many more classes now, but I'm going to try to send you some extra material. So if you want, you can work on that. But that's it for today. I don't know if you have any questions or comments before finishing. Let me know, please.
No, teacher, anything. Thank you.
Okay, you're very welcome. That's it then. Have a good night and see you.
See you,
Bye.
teacher. Bye.
All right.
Evening, teacher.
Hello, good evening, Stefania. How are you? Are you okay?
Yes, teacher, I'm okay. And you?
Great. Everything is fine, Stefania. Thanks for asking. So let's begin with today's practice. As you can see, this time I'm sharing my screen. I'm going to play this lecture for you, and we're going to do the same process. I'm going to play until a certain point, and you're going to try to tell me what you were able to get in your own words. All right?
Okay, teacher.
Yes. Let's begin then, please.
So, everybody who's works in a certain field thinks that their field is really, really, really special, right? So here's why psychology is really, really, really special. So it's really, really special, I think most of all, because every endeavor that we undertake at a university or in society as a whole, it's about people, right? Except for when we think about the rest of nature. But, people study biology, chemistry, and physics. And they think, right, that the sun orbits the Earth for some period of time, and then they think it's the other way around currently, right? Okay, so people come up with these conclusions, even though we're trying to understand nature. It's people who make certain investments in economics or behave in a certain way or vote in a certain way. It's people who make music and appreciate music, make art and appreciate art, read and write literature, right? So in all these dimensions, there's something very fundamental about what it is about the human mind that gives birth to these areas of inquiry and how those areas, domains of human experience are enacted.
So up to that point, that was the first part. And please, Stefania, you can tell me everything that you were able to get from that part. And I'm going to leave you as well with this picture. You can use it if you want. All right, so go ahead, please.
Okay, it's talking about psychology and said that psychology is very special, and I understand that it's special because everything includes something psychological. I don't know, music, art, everything involves the mind of the human, and this is that I think the psychology studies.
Okay, that's really interesting, the approach that you gave, and even you did it more complex, which is really interesting, Stefania. Very good. And he said, right, actually, every field is special, right? Or at least every person that studies a field, right, believes that their field is very special. So sociologist is going to believe that sociology is special because of something. A psychologist is going to believe that psychology is special because of something, right? So in other words, it's not saying that psychology is the best or it's very special in difference, right, or in comparison to the other ones. It's just saying that every field is special because they have one specific field of study, right? And you said something very important, but try to summarize that in one word. What is the field of study of psychology? What does psychology, or what does the psychology study? In one word, Stefania, what do you say?
Feelings.
Okay, it could be feelings, but feelings is part of what?
The mind.
The mind is part of what?
I don't know.
Okay, in other words, you can say of a person.
Okay. Okay.
So psychology studies, as he says, people, right? And of course, people are believed to have a mind or minds, right? And those minds are able to create all those fields including psychology, right? Of course. So if you are talking about biology or chemistry, you're talking about people, and you have to understand their minds and why they came up with those ideas of chemistry and physics, anthropology, sociology, and so on and so forth. But again, your approach was more complex, which is very good and it's interesting. I have one more question over there before going to the next part, Estefania. Do you remember some of the examples that he was giving? Because if you remember, he was repeating that word a lot. People, people. Do you remember some of the things that he was saying related to those examples?
No, teacher, I don't remember.
Okay, so I'm going to play that part. I think it's from this specific part. Just tell me some of the things that he's saying and tell me why he's using that word that much. All right, so let's listen to this part once again.
Because every endeavor that we undertake at a university or in society as a whole, it's about people, right? Except for when we think about the rest of nature. But, you know, people study biology, chemistry, and physics. And they think, right, that the sun orbits the Earth for some period of time, and then they think it's the other way around currently, right? Okay, so people come up with these conclusions, even though we're trying to understand nature. It's people who make certain investments in economics or behave in a certain way or vote in a certain way. It's people who make music and appreciate music, make art and appreciate art, read and write literature, right? So in all these dimensions, there's something very fundamental about what it is about the human mind that gives birth to these areas of inquiry.
All right, so up to that point, again, I don't want to make a complex point over here, Stephanie. Just you can keep it simple and tell me why. Why is he talking about those areas and giving those examples? And if you can give me those, some of those examples.
Okay, he said that people are which do everything, like his examples was I don't know, people appreciate music, people appreciate art, people studies biology, people studies psychology, everything people do that. I don't know if it's correct to say do that, but yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, you're right, right? He's just mentioning some things that people do, right? They study biology and chemistry and physics to say that the sun orbits the earth, or actually it's the other way around. They invest on economics, they behave in a certain way, they make music and they appreciate music, they make art and appreciate art. So everything is people, right? Without people, actually, and some philosophers, right, were saying that actually, is there a reality, right, beyond the minds of people, right? Because it seems that all reality is constructed and built through the minds, right, that we got. So with that idea, let's go to the next part. Okay, let's go to the next part and let's try to explain what is the next point that he's trying to make. Over.
And how those areas, domains of human experience are enacted. So my only goal today is to try to convince you in a number of different ways that we're not simple video camera in our minds, you know, between our ears, recording the world in some objective, simple way, that even the simplest, most obvious things are interpretations of the world around us at many different levels of thought and feeling and perception, and that our minds, the way our minds are constructed, determines the world that we experience, that we see, that we act upon. And even very simple things that we think are pretty objective and simple, right in front of our eyes, are determined by inferences and deductions that our mind makes, weighing sources of evidence in the world and coming to conclusions about what's around us, what we hear and what we see, and how we think.
All right, so in that part, what can you tell me? That is the other point that he's trying to make, right, as part of this introduction to psychology. What can you tell me about that one, Stephanie?
Okay, now I was talking about mind. And that mind is that I don't know, is I don't know. Mind controls everything in a person. I don't know what we see, what we hear, and yes, I understand that, teacher.
All right, very good. Yes, actually, it says, right, how our minds make our worlds. In a certain way, he was saying something that I was mentioning before, right? I'm going to play just a certain part and I'm going to ask you about it. Let me go to that part. No, it's before that, actually. It's a very short. Where is it? Okay, it's at the beginning, sorry. Okay, one more.
Try to convince you in a number of different ways that we're not simple video camera in our minds, you know,
Right, it says, we are not simple video cameras, right, in our minds.
between our ears, recording the world in some
right, with our ears, recording the world
objective, simple way.
in an objective, simple way.
That even the simplest, most obvious.
Okay, just that part, all right? We're not video cameras, right, in our minds, in ears, recording the world in an objective, right, way. So what do you think he's saying that? He's saying that we are not that. Why? What do you think?
I think it's because people feels, you know, like I don't know, we have feelings. We are not just like he said, video cameras like only record, or I don't know, we can see, we can feel, and we can interpretate and everything that our minds do.
Okay, very good. We're going to complement that one. I think you're right. And he mentions some other abilities to finish with this, all right? I think it's over here.
Inferences and deductions that our mind makes.
Okay, over there.
Determines the world that we experience, that we see, that we act upon. And even very simple things that we think are pretty objective and simple, right?
Okay, and here we are going to help me out with this one, right? Even simple things that we think are objective and simple
in front of our eyes are determined by inference.
Okay, they are determined by
and deductions that our mind makes.
Okay, by inferences and deductions that our mind makes.
Weighing sources of evidence in the world and coming to conclusions about what's around us, what we hear and what we see, and how we think.
Okay, and the last part, right? It's here saying that all those deductions, all those elements are going to help us, right, come up with a conclusion. So how can you explain that in your own words when he's talking about, again, even the simple things are a result of some deductions or some processes that we have in our minds? How can you explain that to finish, Stephanie?
I don't understand, teacher. What is he saying?
Okay, just in other words, I'm going to give an example and try to explain this one, right? When you see something that it seems very simple, I'm going to say, I don't know, you see your friend, right? When you see your friend or you see a person, you believe sometimes, okay, that's only a person. But what's happening in your mind, or what do you think that happens in your mind when you see at someone that you know, or perhaps that you don't know? What kind of things do you think that happen in your mind when that happens? It seems very simple because you're just looking at someone, but what's happening behind that?
I don't know. I image. I don't know. I image. I don't know. I like. I make the deduction about that person. Everything. I don't know, teacher.
Okay, no, it's okay. All right. That last part was something extra because we didn't cover that with your partners, but it's good, right? In other words, he's just trying to say that everything that we see is not something that we just see, right? Everything is processed, everything is interpreted. The reality is not just reality because it is, right? We are used to seeing a laptop, a computer, and it's normal. But actually, every time that we see something like that, that it's very simple, it's not as simple because in our minds we are doing a lot of things understanding that object in front of us, even if it's normal, even if it's simple, right? in our minds, we are having deductions and many processes, all right, that are making us relate with those subjects. So in other words, he's saying that every time we see something, all right, something is happening inside ourselves, all right? Just that's it. I don't know if you have any final questions or comments before finishing this session. Let me know, please, Stephanie.
No, teacher.
Okay, that's going to be it then. I hope you have a great night and I'll see you tomorrow for the presentation.
Okay, bye, teacher. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye,
See
Mela.
you.
Bye, Tefa. Sorry.
All right. Hey, good evening, Melanie. How are you?
Hi, Luis. All good. Thanks. What about you?
Great. Everything is fine. Thanks for asking, Melanie. So it's ready for you to share your screen and you can start your presentation wherever you want, Melanie.
Yeah, Luis, just one comment. As I mentioned yesterday, I talked with Ruth about the permission. However, she mentioned that she's going to ask, but until today, I didn't have any answer, just for you to know.
Okay, don't worry. Let's do this today anyway, and we're going to see what happens. I don't believe they are going to have a problem with that. But anyway, let's do it today, Melanie, the presentation, and then I'm going to contact Ruth one again.
Okay, thanks. Perfect. And if you need a picture maybe of the email or something, please tell me and I will send you right away.
Okay, very good. All right, Melanie, I'll let you know. So I'm going to start my timer. You start your presentation and I start the timer, Melanie.
Yeah, give me 1 second. I will put my timer too.
Okay.
Okay. So, okay. Okay, so today I'm going to talk about if I agree or disagree with the following statement, and is that nowadays it is not possible for young people to teach something to elder. And well, we will see. So for me, well, I totally disagree with this statement because I believe that there is always a moment that you can learn. It doesn't matter if you have a master, a PhD, and some topics, something like that. I think you can learn. There are a lot of research that they are doing right now, and you don't know, in fact, what is going to happen tomorrow or 10 years. So every time that you can learn, give this chance, take this chance, and you can also teach someone. And the other reason is because the world's changed. So the world is changing all the time. That is the two main reasons I disagree with this statement. So let's see one by one. Okay, so first, the world changed. As I was mentioned before, the world is changing all the time. In fact, 2 years ago, we have a big change in the whole world. So it was really something different for us because we didn't know and we didn't expect something like that. However, what we need to do is to adapt to changes. All the time you need to adapt, because if you don't do it, you can be isolated from the society and also for other opportunities. So I'm going to give some examples. And the first one is to have a cell phone. The first moment that the cell phones, that these intelligent cell phones show up, if you didn't have one, was like kind of weird. In fact, until today, you don't have a cell phone with WhatsApp, a Zoom, or this type of apps. It's like people looks weird, and they mention things like, why you don't have something like that, and they don't see something like, okay, maybe it's because you're economic, you don't have a really good position in economic way, so things like that. No, they just see that you don't have this type of cell phones. And sometimes, especially when we are teenagers and in every moment, I believe that this can affect yourself, and also to be included in the society is not going to be the same. And second one is also the job opportunities. Long time ago, it wasn't really important if you speak English, Portuguese, Francis, doesn't matter, it's Spanish, whatever. It's was the same. I mean, if you are in Bolivia, you need to talk Spanish. However, throughout the time, was really important to talk about it, to know English, because this was a for you a job opportunity. If you didn't adapt yourself to this, it was really difficult, and the competition among the other people was huge. So you need to prevent this type of things. I mean, anybody knows what is going to happen tomorrow or in 10 years if robots is going to appear or wherever. But every day that is going to happen something new, you need to adapt to this fact, tool, or maybe new way to live. So it is really important. Other change is technology. Our parents learn from us, especially because we know how to use it very well. I mean, we especially grow with these technology facts. Maybe not until we were child, because I remember that the first cell phones, I have my first cell phone when I was 7 years old, I think. And of course, nowadays there are a lot of kids that 2 years and they already have a cell phone, and I don't know how, but we know more about this topic that our parents. So for example, the other day, my dad was trying to send an email and was like kind of cute and strange for me, because he asked me to send an email with a picture and with some titles and how to put in copy to other person and things like that. For me, it was really easy. And I just say, yeah, of course, you need to do this. And of course, I tried to teach him because it was really important for him. Not all the time I'm home and I cannot help him, but that moment I was trying just to indicate how he can do it alone. So that was something that make me feel that you can teach your parents. And maybe they are not like older people, but they are older than you, and you can teach this type of things. All the time that you are trying to do this, it's really important that you need to do it with love and respect, because otherwise looks like you know everything, and that's not true. In fact, there are a lot of young people that believe they know everything and know, but maybe in some topics that you are more capable than other person, you can teach them. The other change that I can highlight is the environment, especially the take care of this world. I remember when I was, I think 7 years old, one of my teachers mentioned that we always need to have our garbage in our pockets, in the back pockets, or if we don't have a bag, in our pockets. And when we see a place when we can put the garbage, so we need to put it there. So once I was with my grandfather, and he just threw out by the window the garbage, and for me wasn't good. I mean, that attitude wasn't good. I was 7 years old. I didn't know exactly how it works, but that teacher also mentions us that doesn't matter if you need to teach some attitudes and some things to your father or to you or your grandfather, but these things that you need to teach needs to be a better things. I mean, you cannot teach something bad. There is always need to be a good lesson. So I made that comments to my grandfather, and I just said, I don't want to drop my garbage by the window because it's not really good for the environment. So I just put my garbage in my pocket. And since then, my grandfather also, he thought a lot about it. And since then, he also saved the garbage in the pocket or in any place. And then when we see a place, an indicate place when you can put this type of garbage, trash, because also depends if it's a bottle or maybe something like a vegetable or things like that. So you can put it that. So since I was 7 years old, I know that you can teach, and also you can have and give some lessons to other people. The second one is that every moment you can learn. As I was saying, doesn't matter if you have a master, a PhD, or wherever you have in any topic, there are always new things that you can learn. There is not something that mandatory, like you need to do it. However, if you want to be adapted to the world and follow the evolution of this world, you need to learn these type of things. And also it is important that at some moment you need to teach, to give some lessons to other person. It's really important. I want to mention some examples about it. First one about the businesses. Well, 2 years ago, as we know, there was a COVID, and well, until today we have this COVID-19. That was a big change for the business, especially for family business. I'm going to focus right now in this type of business. Why? Because when our grandfather, maybe he built all the, I don't know, all the building and all the company and everything, the time at that moment was different. So maybe put some notes and call by cell phone was that type of marketing was good. But nowadays is not something useful. If we think that we are in the same place than 10 years ago, we are wrong. And especially this type of changes, they are suffering right now, our generation. So my generation is suffering this type of transition of be more technology, and also in the business, in the family business, is like talk to your parents and mention why it is important to think outside the box and start doing some changes. And you can, that way, you can maybe encourage them to think outside the box and do something different, and the business can grow. So this is like some way you also are teaching someone older than you. Also in the technology, I remember that my grandparents mentioned that long time ago they were looking for an engineer that knows about airplane and how to fix them, because at that moment wasn't really common to have a master or a degree in this topic. But nowadays it is really common, and this type of transportation, like the airplane and these type of things, are more easy to fix, and everything is with technology. So for example, if someone that knows about these topics doesn't have any course, or didn't take any course and things like that, is going to be like obsolete, and is not going to have better opportunities in the future. Education is always something that always we are learning about, talk more with our children, and especially when we need to be parents. I think that the own kids are the best for teach us how to be parents, because you know, when she or he is crying, you can maybe you don't know what to do, but some attitudes and some other feelings is going to guide you. So that is really important to do. So these are 3 topics that for me you need to learn all the time, and was improving through the time. Was a huge change, I believe. However, nevertheless, there is a phrase that says, more knows the devil for being old than for being the devil. And yeah, this is true. I totally agree also with this phrase, because our parents or grandparents also know something that maybe we don't. And they already live some experience that we need to live. However, they need to be a guidance for us. I mean, their life already is not finished, but they already have these experiences and things like that. Right now, we need to have our own experience. And one of them is maybe teach them how to do some different things. They are going to help you always, and they are going to always teach you about some values. In fact, they are going to be the first one to give you what is bad and what is right. But it's not just like that. I mean, when you grow up, you know what is good, what not, and you can have this difference. So until that moment, your parents need to, okay, take care of you and maybe give you some advice, but just like that. It's not like a limit, and you always can teach to your parents. So in conclusion, yes, they can also teach us. In fact, I believe that every moment you are learning and you are teaching. Doesn't matter if it's someone younger than you or someone older than you. You always need to know that there are things that you don't know and you can learn, and there are things that maybe you have a really good knowledge and you can teach. So it is really important also for young people to catch this idea, because as I was saying before, sometimes we believe that we know everything, especially when we are like 17, something like that. We know everything and we know what we're doing, but in fact, I think no. We need some guide, and we need to learn a lot, and we need to through a lot of experience, but it is important to do it together. You need to try to improve together with your parents to be a better person. Maybe if you have a brother or a sister, also it is important to you to say some experiences, and also for your parents to give you some lessons about how you can face the life. And thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Melanie. It was great as always. I'm stopping the timer. All right. So I know we're over time. I'm just going to give you a quick feedback. All right. 14 minutes, 55 seconds. That's very good as always with time management. These elements, all right, all these elements over here. The presentation was very good. You follow all the structure in terms of the organization, right? Introduction, agreement or disagreement with one idea. You had that one idea. You showed me your perspective, your position. You gave me some reasons and a short explanation. That's very good. Then you started developing the benefits or reasons, right? In detail, a lot of examples, very interesting examples related to your experiences, which is very good. Paraphrasing, a lot of paraphrasing, which again is very positive. Words and phrases, right? You didn't have like complex ideas, as I was saying, and that was again very good. And the conclusion, your summary, restating your position, and also some reflection over there. All right, so that's very, very good. Your topic is always very interesting, all right, and it was very understandable in many, many ways. My only observations are going to be the following in terms of vocabulary and pronunciation, very few, all right? Because of your economic or of your economy, I'm not sure, right? You don't have, you were talking about buying a cell phone or something like that. It's better if you say because of your economical situation or because of your financial situation, right? Not only economic or economy. Then you said this good in the other ones, but in this case you said order change, right? You don't only say order change. Perhaps you can say the order change, but it's advisable to say the order change only when it's going to be the last one in your list. All right, so you say this is another one, another change, a different one. So you can say a different one, the following one, another one, and then only the last one can be with the other one. All right, that's going to be the last item in your list. I was, this one of course not here, trying to indicate him. You were talking about your father, if I'm not wrong, right? How to send an email with pictures. I was trying to, instead of indicate, to guide him, to show him, right? That indicate is going to be like very specific, like to point something. So it's not like a process of guiding, all right? So it's better to say, I was trying to guide him, all right? And to show him how to do it, the process of doing it. Then when we see a part, I don't know if you said a part or a place where we can put the garbage. Do you remember that one, Melanie?
I think I say a part.
A part, right? Yes, that's what I heard.
Yes.
Instead of that one, right, try to have these two words in mind. Even instead of a place, right? If we say we see a bin or a can, right? A trash can where we can put, or we can see a specific or dedicated place, all right? But a part is too general, and a part is not understood like a location, all right? It's like more a part of something, all right? Just that one. And this,
Sorry, Luis. So how can I say basurero? Trash?
you have two options. You have a first trash, sorry, I'm going to write it, trash bin, okay, that's one, or also you can call it a can, all right, a trash bin or a trash can. Also,
Okay.
well, in England they use, instead of trash, they use rubbish, right, the rubbish bin, but bin or can, one of those. All
And
right.
I was trying to say that I was confused in that part. In fact, when I was practicing, I was trying to explain that a lot of people, I don't know, the trash. I don't know how to say, like, botar la basura. I didn't know how to say that. But
Right, throw the trash, to throw away, right, because you say to throw.
Okay.
All right, so yes, a lot of people throw trash, right, on the streets, and that's not correct. Instead of doing that, you should keep the trash with you, right, in your pockets or in your back pocket, as you were saying, right, and wait until you find a trash bin or can so that you can put the garbage there, or you can throw the garbage there. All right, good. This one over here, it's not incorrect, but it's not as common in English. In Spanish, we say this and it's correct. But in English, when you use since, they use more the present perfect. So it's better if you say, and even if it's something that is happening now, Melanie, since I was 7 years old, I've known, all right? I've known that this is like this and like that. There was a COVID, right? I think there was a mistake. Instead of this one, right? A virus, right, appeared or showed up. And until today, right, the virus is still spread because this expression, right, is not that correct. Then are easier to fix, right, easier to fix. And about, this is a preposition, so no talk more, about talking more with our children, right, just that one. These words, right, capable, this one more like a, capable, isolated, all right, isolated, obsolete, this one more like e, all right, obsolete. And this one, I think it was a mistake. I know that you know how to say this one, but you said that word but pronounced in English, but you didn't say French, all right, you said something like Francis or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was confused.
All right, so French, right, French, but that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Everything else in terms of time, the content, the structure, the paraphrasing, which I think it's the most valuable thing, is very, very good. Just those details. I don't know if you have any questions or comments, Melanie. Let me know, please.
No, any comment. Thanks, please.
Okay, very good. So let's finish here, please. We're going to have one more encounter, let's say, that is going to be next Tuesday. I would like to be there to have this closing and to give you some, let's say, advice of how to improve your speaking, all right, by yourself. All right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, very good. That's it then. Thanks for being here, and I'll see you on Tuesday.
Yes, thanks, Luis. Please let me know about the permission if I need something else.
I'm going to let you know if I need you to send me something. All right?
Okay. Thanks, Luis.
Bye-bye.
Take
Good
care.
night.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.